ladies and gentlemen. This is an article that came out June 25th, 2018 on CNN. China lectures the US on opioid plague. So China just has a few choice words for the US coming out of Beijing. A top official in China's drug control agency has hit back at accusations that Chinese suppliers are fueling the ongoing opioid plague in the United States, arguing that Washington should pay more attention to its domestic factors before pointing fingers at others. See, China, very much like the US, is not going to take responsibility for their wrongdoing. It's common knowledge that most new psychoactive substances have been designed in laboratories in the United States and Europe, and their deep processing and consumption also mostly take place there. So this is the lecture that China's giving you. They're saying you pretty much are responsible for your drug problem, US. Don't try to point fingers at us. The US should adopt a comprehensive and balanced strategy to reduce and suppress the huge demand in the country for fentanyl and other similar drugs as soon as possible, said Liu, whose comments coincide with the release of China's annual drug situation report. When fewer and fewer Americans use fentanyl, there would be no market for it. But we know that's not going to happen. The demand for drugs in the US is like super great. NPS includes such designer drugs as fentanyl, a cheap synthetic opioid at least 50 times stronger than heroin, that has been flooding the US market. And all of that fentanyl is coming from China. Trump last October declared the opioid plague a national public health emergency and promised to end the plague. But we know nothing is ending this plague. Nothing. Trump is not going to end this because he can't. Broad and effective cooperation. In 2017, congressional report labeled China as the primary source of fentanyl in the US, citing law enforcement and drug investigators. Responding to a CNN question on China's plan to further curb the sales and shipment of fentanyl products to the United States, Liu gave a laundry list of measures that he said the U.S. authorities should adopt, ranging from intensified drug prevention campaigns to better treat and assist for drug users. But you know what? China really don't have any room to talk. If you go out and do the research, China is also suffering from a major drug problem in that country too, that they have not been able to stop. So they're really not in any position to give the US any advice, and the US is really not in any position to give them advice. Two evils. Okay, back to this. The U.S. should crack down on distributors, traffickers, and drug-related criminal rings, he added. It should investigate and arrest more lawbreakers. No, they're too busy. Never mind. During his state visit to China last November, Trump brought up the topic with his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping. with the two leaders agreed to bolster mutual cooperation on fighting narcotic crimes. On Monday, Chinese officials stressed the broad and effective cooperation between the two countries. Liu pointed to a series of cross-border trafficking cases jointly cracked by the two sides and highlighted Beijing's latest efforts in intercepting drugs bound for the United States at major ports. He also reiterated Beijing's long-held position that China, in a proactive and responsible spirit, has listed 138 NPS, including 23 fentanyl analogs, as controlled substances, even though there is no widespread abuse of these drugs within its borders. So, China is simply not going to let the U.S. blame them for this entire drug problem that's going on in the U.S. They said the U.S. must take responsibility for what's going on in their country. And to be honest with you, I agree. In the United States, since 1999, the number of overdose deaths involving opioids has quadrupled. From 2000 to 2015, more than 500,000 people have died of drug overdoses, with opioid accounting for the majority of those, and now killing more Americans every year than breast cancer. Recently released figures from the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention found that 64,000 people died from drug overdoses in 2016. Remember, that's only 22 states, ladies and gentlemen. So they're really being disingenuous when they give you that number. It's a lot higher than that. Representatives from the U.S. Embassy, along with diplomats from other countries, attended Monday's press conference but did not speak. Liu, the senior Chinese officials, brushed aside suggestions that increasingly shaky China-U.S. relations, marked by an on-again, off-again trade war, also impede bilateral efforts on the fentanyl issue. When it comes to a matter of principles such as the international cooperation on narcotic control, we won't let it be affected or disrupted by other political and economic factors, he said. We hope other countries, including the United States, would do the same thing. So China is pretty much letting the U.S. know we ain't taking responsibility for the opioid problem in the U.S. We are not taking the full blame, and get over it. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. China pretty much don't give an F about the drug problem here in the U.S., and they don't really seem to care about all of the shipments that are coming in from China. They simply don't care. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell. If you can support my channel, please do. I will see you on the next video. Peace, family.